We've finally reached the last few weeks of school for students and teachers. You know, there were a lot of things that I loved about school, but do you know what my least favorite part was?
What was your least favorite part, Liz? What was your least favorite part, Liz?
Group projects. Did anyone else get a sense of dread whenever the teacher announced that your class was going to be assigned a group project?
Every single time, yes. That is so true. Group projects meant that you'd have to work twice as hard as you would have if you could have just done the work all by yourself from the beginning.
The first thought that always went through my mind was, will we get to pick our groups, or are we assigned? I didn't want to get stuck with a kid who wasn't going to do his share of the work. I remember in 4th grade, my group project to make a California mission out of sugar cubes. My friend Audrey and I were assigned with a third person. I can't even remember their name because they didn't do any of the work. And worse than them not helping was the agonizing decision of telling the teacher who really made the beautiful sugar cube sculpture, or letting them get an A that they didn't deserve. If the teacher said we were going to count off into groups, I would start counting around the room to figure out who my group was going to be as quick as possible.
That is so very real, so real. What is our resistance to group projects anyway? Is it the extra time we have to spend? Is it that we don't get to do things our own way? Is it having to acknowledge that maybe our ideas are not the only ones out there, maybe not even the best ones? Whatever it is, I know it is so very difficult to get excited about group projects.
There's only one thing that I liked about group assignments: when they were finished.
Yes.
I love that everyone was given the same assignment, but each project turned out different. We all brought our own perspectives, our own gifts, and would put a unique spin on it. No two projects were ever the same, and our learning is widened and enhanced because of that.
You know, hearing you call up the dread and the beauty of group projects really reminds me of this community in Corinth as we experience them through Paul's writings. They seem to be an empowered and animated bunch, confident in the gifts they've had all along. But then as the church is developing and growing, they're having to engage in the work of being church. A group project of sorts is where we find these faithful and gifted people. They're not all from the same places. They don't all eat or speak the same. They hang out with different kinds of people, and they have various professions. I can almost feel their dread and lack of desire to engage in the messiness of group work all these thousands of years later. But being on this side of school and required group projects, I can see Paul's brilliance as he comes in with a word of empowerment and hope, reminding them about the beauty of their various gifts. Just as you have, Liz, Paul helps them pause for a moment and recognize that group work doesn't have to be dreadful. In fact, he makes the argument that group work is essential for their identity and purpose as ones who follow Christ.
Yes, I can get behind that. It's a spirit of collaboration rather than one of competition that makes our faith worth struggling through. You know, one of the things about ministry in the greater Lansing area that most excites me is the strength of our Interfaith Clergy Association. It's a joy to collaborate with other religious groups on prayer vigils and pilgrimages and worship services. When we bring all of our unique gifts together, we're able to meet the needs of our whole diverse faith community. It also frees me as a pastor to focus on what Edgewood's gifts are, knowing there are other congregations with their own gifts serving the wider community.
What a perfect day and way to talk about the essential and beautiful posture of collaboration as a practice of our faith on this Pentecost Sunday, the day the church was first birthed. In that same vein, I am extremely thrilled to share with Edgewood about the birth of a new community of faith in this time and in this place. I am actively in the process of bringing Salus Center into existence.
Are you saying salus as in the Latin word for wholeness and well-being?
Indeed, I am, Liz. Holding true to my belief that God intends for us to be whole in our fullest human expressions, Salus Center is an LGBTQ resource and community center right here in Lansing. This is a place where folk of every kind can come just as they are, wherever they may be in life, and they can find resources and access to different types of information and holistic care geared toward the acceptance and inclusion of LGBTQ people. There will be training and educational opportunities for allies and advocates, as well as support groups for LGBTQ folk and their families. It's also the home of Salus Center UCC, a new worshiping community that'll meet there each and every week. On Sunday afternoons, we're going to gather around the music of a secular artist whose music will guide our attempts to extract the sacred from the ordinary. Just as Jesus did when he gathered with his friends around an ordinary loaf and an ordinary cup. And just as we'll do even today, participating in the extraction of the sacred from the ordinary.
I love this. Salus Center sounds unlike any other faith community in Lansing. I know that even though I feel really welcome in traditional churches as a queer person, a lot of other LGBTQ folks don't. I imagine this will be a place where many people can reconnect with their spirituality or discover faith for the first time.
Absolutely. Accessibility is a key piece of my commitment to Salus Center. And that's another reason we'll be meeting at a non-church building location on Michigan Avenue, right on the main bus line. Though there are tons of communities like Edgewood that are abundantly loving and welcoming, as has been my firsthand experience, unfortunately, the church building can be a barrier for some, especially in a cultural climate that has people wrapping their bigotry and hate in religion.
In many ways, Salus Center feels like a natural extension of who we are and what we do here at Edgewood. As we proclaim each week, we welcome everyone wherever they may be on life's journey. We are deeply engaged in the work of community building and helping people connect with their faith, whether it is a faith they grew up with or something they are discovering for the first time. The difference is that we do it in the framework of a traditional congregation, building on the ways we have done things for generations. Salus Center shares Edgewood's values, but your gifts are in the newness. You'll be able to respond in a brand new way to a particular community in this particular time and place. So Edgewood has the gift of already being rooted in the community. We're familiar with some of the justice issues and how they came about. We have the gift of stability that allows new progressive churches like Salus Center to innovate and experiment through a ministry of collaboration. Though we come together from different starting points and experiences, Edgewood and Salus Center are two members of the same body of Christ, using our different perspectives and gifts in service to those in our community who have been marginalized, are searching for a place to belong, and actually experience wholeness and well-being.
Very well said. And my hope is that everyone here at Edgewood will feel free to share their prayers with this endeavor as it unfolds before us. Faithfully rooting this work in our prayers, actively inviting the Spirit into this endeavor is really the only way it can ever succeed. And as with any new organization, there's a steep need for funds to support and build this new ministry that'll cultivate community in meaningful new ways. Specifically, to cover the startup costs and the first-year expenses, we still need $90,000 from individual donors, churches, and organizations, the bulk of which we hope to identify and gather in our summer fundraiser by the end of August so that we can be ready to launch in September. Equally as important, I'm hoping to have ongoing conversations with Edgewood so that we can continue thinking about long-term partnerships that'll be mutually supportive in the different ways that our variety of gifts will be able to come together, and then we'll be able to create something that none of us can do on our own. And it's this kind of collaboration with Edgewood and other churches that'll make this vision a reality.
This is exciting. There was once a time when Edgewood was a new church start. When Edgewood became a church, it was because an already established church in East Lansing, the People's Church, had a vision for a new congregation in town that would meet different needs in the community than they could. They were not afraid of the competition. Instead, they invested in the gifts of leaders in order to create something new. Their vision became Edgewood United Church. So now there is a vision for another new church in our community. Our relationship to Salus Center is different than the historic one between the People's Church and Edgewood, but we do have the opportunity to share and support this new vision the way our founding members and pastor were supported 64 years ago.
That's a beautiful reminder of how we have been and are already living into this group project that is the work of doing and being church. Of course, there are many more details yet to be heard and discovered. And as such, there are some informational handouts that'll be in the social hall for you to take with you after worship. And I'll also be available to speak further if you'd like after I'm done with the greeting line, and of course in the months to follow.
So our governance council has already affirmed the mission and vision of Salus Center. Edgewood stands by ready to support you as it is established and grows. This is one group project I'm actually looking forward to.
Yes.
And Phiwa, we will look to your leadership and are thankful for the gifts you have brought to Edgewood this past year and the gifts you are bringing to our greater Lansing community.
I cannot even begin to stress enough how healing Edgewood has been in my own process. It's because of the extravagant welcome and the radical hospitality that I found here that I'm even able to live into this call to be able to extend it to the wider community. I so look forward to our continuing relationship as we all acknowledge and honor the one Spirit who gave and keeps giving our various gifts. It truly is an act of God that we can name our gifts and share them for the good of all. Thanks be to God. Amen.
Amen.